go hard.
I go the hardest. I bring the pain. Not what you used to. It's all part of the game. Yeah, I just gotta go hard.
What you gotta do, Steve?
I just gotta go hard. Go hard.
Gotta go hard.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the beast back.
Good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of High Top Sports. We are live in the studio on the best day of the week. It is SEC Media Week. It has felt like football all week long. I know it's July, but my golly, I have never been ready for football my entire life. I am itching every single day for some football. Today I am joined by, of course, the OG, Mr. Steven Chad Holly. He is here in the building with us today, looking better than ever. And, of course, standing at 6'2", 245 pounds. Benches more than Eugene Wilson, Mr. David Swalderquist. Oh, man. Incredible. Boys and girls, welcome to the show. Happy to have all of you here. Happy to see your beautiful faces. Steve, how was your weekend, buddy? I want to ask how yesterday went just yet, but how was your weekend at least?
My man, weekend was great. Good to be back in the studio. Good to see everybody. I know everybody is happy to be here. Happy to be here on the best day of the week. Welcome back, fam. Let's go.
Swolder, talk to me, big dog.
Hey, SEC Media Days, Wednesday, we lighten it up in here like we always do every Wednesday. Shouting everybody at High Top, let's get it, let's go.
Let's get it, baby. Drop a like. You guys saw that Billy also, too, made sure that he had his media day on Wednesday. That wasn't a coincidence. Clearly, he watches the show, and he knew, hey, let's hit the boys up. Let's give them something to talk about. So, much appreciated to Billy and the team there for getting us rocking and rolling. Over 100 people in here already. It's only been 60 seconds. So, again, make sure you smash the like button, subscribe. Lets YouTube know that we're doing a good job and that you guys want to keep coming back and hanging out with us. Bashay, Jonathan, Adrian, Mama, Clint, Billy B, 352, Trav, Steve Beckerman, Too Legit, Harrison, Mike, Lowry. It's always the Gators. Sippy Swamp Fan, phenomenal name. Clint, Between the Hedges, better never rest. I love it. How you guys doing today? Welcome to the show. Sorley, Scott 020, Harrison Sanchez, Brandon, Jonathan Myers, I think. I'm kind of trying to get with the professor.
Whew, so damn.
It's already jam-packed. I'm loving it. Good to see all of you guys in here. How you looking like slow Rogan? I love it. Look, guys, we have a jam-packed show for you today. We're going to talk about the press conference, obviously. Billy, a little more juice than normal. Still vanilla as it could come, but I feel like there's a few sprinkles in there this time at least. It wasn't just straight, it was like vanilla bean. You know what I'm talking about, where it has like the black little specks in there? That vanilla bean's a little bit better than vanilla, and that's what I felt like we got today. So I was happy with that. He's looking more composed. He's looking calmer. A big key word for him this entire day was excited for this team, excited for this players, excited to coach this team. We're going to give you our thoughts on that. QB1 situation, that got brought up a multitude of times. We've talked about it a lot, but this was the first time that the media got to get their prongs into it. So we'll kind of reopen that up a little bit. It will be something that will be decided, I would say, pretty soon. So we'll give you our thoughts on that. The expectations. What is the expectation for Florida? We've obviously had our predictions early on, and now that it's getting closer, I think we need to sit down and we'll probably have a show where we do our full actual, here's our prediction of the schedule. But I do want to talk about the expectations because it was nice hearing what everyone had to say about Florida and the other schools. So then I started kind of digging like, okay, let's talk about it some more. We'll talk about FSU and what they're doing, what they've got looking forward. They lost a commit to us yesterday, which we're going to talk about. We'll recap that. But could they close strong? They've got some big names on their board. Are they going to be able to lock it in? And then we'll close it out with Nick Saban. We've been knocking on this door for quite some time, but I feel like they're kind of going through the same carousel, and I think that his time is coming to a near, which I have been saying, but this go around, I've got some more data behind it. And then Big Blue. I'm going to leave it at that. But then, of course, we'll do Tweets of the Week. So it's jam-packed, like I said. So sit back, relax, grab a coffee, grab a drink, grab some popcorn. We're going to have some fun. And boys and girls, with the first order of business, let's talk about some big, major news as we landed ourselves some new commits here yesterday and on Friday. Teddy Foster committed Friday. Big pickup there. We had a whole show about him. Excited for Teddy Foster. Dave was, a little 50-50 on it, but I think he's coming around to Teddy Foster committing. A big-time pickup there. Nice size. Obviously, Raymond saw him come for a practice and scooped him up. And then we scooped, or flipped, I should say, Abrams, which has been in the books. Steve has called it a while back. I'm trying to give him crap, but he won't let me because he did call it. And now we sit with 21 commits with a total score of 277 and an average rating of 91.72. Dave?
Yeah, Teddy Foster, a guy that he doesn't really have, I guess, elite speed that you'd be looking for, but his coverage skills are pretty good. I mean, pretty good elite length, pretty good, just about anything else you wanted into a corner. And of course, if Corey Raymond likes it, I mean, the GOAT likes it, go ahead and take it. I mean, it doesn't matter whether I like it or not, right? If
Sure.
Corey Raymond wants him, then you go ahead and take him. But as I said, man, last cycle, he took Jakeem Jackson, who was rated, I think, in the 500s and then wound up being a top 50 player. So he has the eye for cornerback talent. So any cornerback that Corey Raymond decides he wants to take, I'm for it. So, Teddy Foster in the class. And also, we got to talk about a big flip over here, man.
Oh, no. Look, let's do this. Let's make this fair. Let's give it to Steve first before we jump on this bandwagon. We're going to keep it PG. Steve he's been, look, I said, he called it. I'm not going to say that he didn't. He's been very open about this happening. But give me your thoughts. I want to get an honest opinion. Obviously, FSU, Twitter, there's a bunch of trolls. They're trying to play off it's like not a big deal. And look, that's the natural response to do.
Sure.
Is it that big of a deal? I want to say he's pretty elite speed, but again, obviously, it is what it is. It's part of the game. But is it a small loss, or you're like, hey, I'm not really worried about it because of X?
Well, no. So the way we look at it right now is FSU didn't lose anything because we already expected to lose him, right? We didn't lose what we didn't already have, right? And that's kind of the vice versa of what Dion keeps saying, right? Like you thought you had what I've already
Thought
got.
you gonna get what I already got.
Exactly.
Yeah, I got you.
But we've been talking about this for a minute. Like nobody.
So your thing is you thought we lost what we already lost.
We thought you just got what we already lost. I don't care.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like I don't know. You know, it's a dog I didn't want that I let out the door and just now it's your take. It's your taking. Cool. But look, I'm not saying that he wasn't a take. I'm not saying that FSU didn't feel like we lost an opportunity to have a good talent on the field. We 100% do. DJ Abrams is a amazing talent. It's just that FSU had moved on from that months ago.
You've already had your time. You've already digested it. So it's hard for you to be upset about it now because you already knew, hey, this was a thing that was happening.
And here's the thing. So FSU took a recruit from Georgia in the tight end, right? And then, Georgia took a recruit from Florida, and I want to say Bowens. Is it Bowens that you guys lost to Georgia?
Chauncey Bowens, yes.
And then so you guys flipped one from us. This is how recruiting goes. Right, this isn't anything different, anything new, and it's one thing if it catches you off guard. That's when it really hurts. It hurts when you don't know it's coming. But when we're talking about it in April, like even when he was coming in for his official visit just a couple of weeks ago, and I said here on the show that this is FSU's last shot to show him that this may be the place for him. That this turned out that this wasn't the place for him. That's okay.
Sure.
we took a haymaker, we took a swing, we did what we could do, and if he wasn't going to be happy being in Tallahassee, he already said where he was going to go if he wasn't in Tallahassee. He said that 4 months ago. So again, like this is just one of those weird things where, look, congratulations to Florida for getting an amazing football talent, and I believe he is an amazing football talent. He's fast as hell. Yeah. So that's it. That's what it boils down to. Is you guys got a good talent. It's just that FSU didn't feel like we didn't hurt from it because we didn't.
No, I got you. I think that's the best way of looking at it. It's like you guys, and sometimes Dave and I, we hear about guys flipping in the Bowen situation, and we were aware of it before it came out, so we had time to digest it and be prepared for it once it did break. That, look, we had already kind of mourned, right, the loss of Chauncey Bowens. And look, that one still stings. I'm going to be honest with you. That one hurts me a ton because I was stoked for the running back class. I felt we were moving directions. I'm not going to sit here and say, like, oh, it's no big deal. Like, no, that one blows. Imagine we're sitting here with Chauncey Bowens right now with the class that we have currently. I mean, we're easily sitting in the top 2 class without a shadow of a doubt over Ohio State.
Agreed.
Yeah.
But look, I think it's and I was actually looking today. I was talking with a buddy of mine who's a big Georgia fan. The class again, it's Billy Gonzalez. This is his class that's coming in. Now, last class he didn't recruit, but there's a similarity between these classes. 6 foot, 5'11", 5'10", extremely fast guys. Go look at that 2006, 2008 championship team. Outside of Dallas Baker, the touchdown maker, who was 6'3", Percy Harvin was basically your tallest guy sitting at 6 foot, right? The rest of them, Chris Rainey, all that, all 5'11", 5'10", with just elite speed. It kind of was getting into like the big wide receiver types like Kelvin Benjamin, who they're more rare than you think. We go to the NFL, there's a lot of them because they make their way through, but in college, they're not really kind of just walking around. The big guys that I think of are like Mike Evans, Kelvin Benjamin, Devontae Adams, but I don't remember watching him too much in college, to be honest with you. But that's a big guy now. But DK Metcalf's another big one, but in college, did we really watch DK Metcalf? I don't think.
At Ole Miss, yeah, he was okay.
But you know what I'm saying? So like the small elite speed guys, who is, again, what seems to be where we're headed, excites me because we're going back down that lane. And the running backs, I feel like that was kind of where Florida may have. Brandon James is a phenomenal running back, but the running backs that Billy is going after are much more elite than I think they were going after before. So look, all in all, good stuff.
Well, great for Florida. Great for Florida.
Huge. Yeah, no, huge pickup. Huge pickup.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at it, like right now, you got 3 wide receivers on your roster that run sub 4.3, 4.4 speed. I mean, that's like Ray Hawkins, probably the fastest of them all. He probably runs around a 4.3. You got 2 4.4 runners in Isaiah Williams and TJ Abrams right now. And then you combine that with Aiden Mazzell, Eugene Wilson, and Andy G the year before. I mean, you got all those guys running around and all that speed on that field. That's hard for defenses to defend. So I'm excited just based on the speed and what's coming to Florida and opposed to, like, you talk about the running back room, even Kanan Daniels. I mean, a guy that's averaged 10 yards per carry in high school. I mean, that's exciting enough for me to not even caring about his ranking. Just looking at those statistics, it's just really hard to do no matter what competition you're playing. So
we forget about the elite talent that Kanan Daniels is because of how long ago he committed. But when he did commit, you were extremely excited about those high school numbers, Dave. Yeah. When
I looked up like statistics and everything else, I was just like, holy crap, this kid's averaging 10 yards a carry. That's just, it's just hard to do. I mean, I'm sure that there's been running backs that have done that. I'm sure Derrick Henry did that when he was in high school. And obviously he turned out to be.
What did he do at Yulee? He did something.
Like 2,000 yards.
Yeah, it was
like,
insane.
Hold on.
It's down the road.
Let's not put those two guys in the same category
animal.
real fast. Just for the record, like what Derrick Henry did at Yulee, which in northern Jacksonville is a beast of a football schedule.
I'm just talking in terms of yards per carry. Derrick Henry rushed a whole ton of yards.
Sure.
Had more than 10 yards a carry, but to rush 2,000 yards in one season, it's pretty good.
Absolutely. And Andre Caldwell was 6'2". He was another one on the Gators team. But yes, but again, the names that kind of stand out. Again, there was elite speed. Look, I would like to get some more size on the outside too.
So real fast, let me ask you about that. Real quick because what Billy does from an offensive standpoint is he wants that power running game. He likes those tight ends. He likes to keep that 2 running back set. He likes to rotate those 2 guys. He likes to just do different things to open things up for the quarterback. But I mean, at the same time, how can he block well with 5'11", 5'10", 5?
Sure.
Like,
yeah, definitely need some more weight on them for sure. Look, Percy Harvin was 6'2", 215.
But I mean, think about how many times Percy Harvin had to block. I mean, he would sweep underneath and he would run those jets, and he wasn't expected to do. I mean, he turned into
if you stack up with 2 big tight ends, you kind of make up for that as well too.
I think so, but I mean, it's just if you look at the dynamic, you're looking at these 6'8" offensive linemen that he's recruiting, and then you look at these 5'10", shorter speed guys at the wide receiver spot, and then he looks at running backs that he wants. That it just. I mean, I'm sure he has a better understanding of what he wants from an offense than I do. But I mean, gosh, some of these things feel like out of place, right? Like they don't feel like they're like a fit. That you have these guys that are smaller and faster on the outside, but you're asking for a heavy running game. We'll see how it all plays out.
We'll see how it figures out. And then again, we'll go over quickly just the future. We've been talking about it, for quite some time. What's next? What's left on the board? And look, we got a commit happening tomorrow. It looks like it's between Texas and Florida with Deontay Robinson. A lot of noise that it looks good for Florida. That's exciting. Another massive defensive lineman. Look, with the defensive lineman room starting to really fill up, there's potential we could lose one. I know there's obviously was a lot of noise last night with us losing a flip to FSU, and we flipped from you guys. I know Napier Johnson was somebody that was high on FSU at one point. Could that happen with the crowded defensive lineman room? It's a possibility. Another few names that we've been mentioning, obviously, are Mincy, LJ McCray, Jamari Howard. All that will be at the barbecue. And I think Ori Williams, big offensive tackle, is up there as well, too. But I know Dave has his eyes on Jordan Seaton from IMG, who he would love to pull. But that one's kind of still up in the air as of now.
Yeah, I actually kind of just got confirmation that Ori Williams would not be at the barbecue. I think he's going to LSU, I believe. So
okay, that
weekend
kind of got or committing.
Yeah,
to
that week. I don't know if he's committing or anything. I just heard that he wasn't going to be at the barbecue. But, I mean, like Seaton, obviously a top 50, coveted offensive lineman there from IMG Academy. That's a guy I think, honestly, like if we get the guys that I think we're going to get, he's going to push us over the limit of that 290 mark, which will, I wrote that article about, the past decades of recruiting classes that we had, the highest class that we had in 2013 was 291.2 or something like that. So if we can pass 291, that will make a history, like Florida recruiting history for the past decade. So I want to see us at least get past that 290 mark, because that's just a thing of mine. And I think Seaton is kind of the guy that will put you past that mark. Of course, you're still in it for Jordan Ross. We'll see what happens with that. And then a couple other big names down the road, and maybe you get a flip. But I do like what Jordan Seaton brings to the table, especially. He's a little bit undersized, I guess, for like the weight and the height and all that Rob's. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you could put some weight on that kid. Come on, man. I mean, that's an elite talent. You want to bring him here at the University of Florida. So we'll see what happens with Jordan Seaton. But I mean, as far as like the offensive line class as it goes right now, I'm already happy with it right now. And we'll just see if we add another, recruit to it. Now, obviously, you got the defensive line. Even if some guy was to flip from the class, I mean, you go back and look at that 2023 class. How many defensive linemen did we take? Like 6, and they were all like in the top 250. So, I mean, I wouldn't really be worried about that if one of the defensive linemen did flip at the same time. But I don't know, man. A lot of those kids shut down their recruitments, man. I mean, I think, if you can get more of these kids to shut down their recruitments, I think you're sitting in a good spot.
Yeah, the class looks strong with the kids shutting it down. And again, to be able to pass that record, like you said, in over a decade would be huge for, obviously, just as a fan, but for Billy as well, because there's a big, a ton of question marks. I think he's done a good job coming in, and to be able to recruit a record-breaking class after what everyone's calling a down year, back-to-back losing seasons, would be huge. It'd be great for the program, and it would be great for moving things forward. And again, I think it would settle everybody down a little bit. The word we keep using is patience. And you got to believe if they're able to do a big class like that, you've got to be able to see the writing on the wall that, hey, you have allowed this to at least run through its process. At least let's see what this record-breaking class could be. Because if you don't, you're going to just burn another bridge and get right back to where we are at square one. They talked about today at the press conference with Stoops in Kentucky and what he's been able to do there and put together over the last few years a winning program now. Kentucky isn't just somebody you can step on. They're actually a legit threat week in and week out. And, I know they lost Will Levis, but they were able to go out and get somebody like a Devin Leary who did pretty well at NC State. And they're still going to be somebody that you had to force to be reckoned with. I don't think they're going to be as favored as they were last year. A lot of people have them going 11-1. I think there is some question marks, which we'll talk about a little bit with expectations. But you got to give these guys some time. But before we move on to the next stuff, again, over 260 people in here. Make sure you guys drop a like. Let's get to 100 likes here ASAP. And let's move on to the big order of business, which was the press conference today. Finally got to hear from Billy himself. And look, we're going to go all about it and kind of what he talked about, what he had to say. His takeaways that I, noticed was excited for year 2. He kept referencing, we're really excited. I'm really excited to coach this team. He kind of said there's usually a team that you're excited to work with and coach. This is that team. High on Austin Armstrong, and we'll break that down a little bit. And then Steve and I are going to have a little debate on why Utah is so important. He has a disagreement on that, which is going to be exciting. But Dave, I'm going to go to you first. I want to get your tale of the tape of Billy Napier at his press conference.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of I would say Billy Napier's not going to win you over at a press conference because he pretty much almost kind of says the same things every little bit. But I got a little bit of a takeaway from some of the things that he said. I mean, when he was, everybody's wondering about like the offensive coordinator, that whole rumors going around and all that.
Sure.
He said it's something we'll continue to evaluate. I like oh, excuse me, I typed that out wrong. I like to have my hands on the scripts and play calls. Says he'll continue to do it and we'll continue to evaluate that. That was a little bit of a takeaway I got from that. So he's not necessarily saying that he wants to handle all the play calls here in the future, but the question's not out of the book of him hiring offensive coordinators. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then at the same time, he talks about the quarterback competition, with Graham Mertz and Jack Miller and Max Brown. And he kind of alludes to Max Brown a little bit instead of Jack Miller.
Hold on that. We'll get into Max here in just a minute. Yeah. I don't want to go ahead. Go ahead though.
Yeah, I mean, and then obviously, with the new facility, he talked about the players, being more, efficient and spending more time with each other. Of course, we want that player collaboration. We didn't really have that under Dan Mullen, and it kind of just it spiraled into something else. And you hear it from a lot of the players when we interview them, how it's just so much better. It's like night and day. A lot of them are getting to know each other a lot more. So you always want that team collaboration. That really helps there on the football field too, especially when you're trying to, figure out plays and defensive plays. And, we saw the defense for the past 2 or 3 years. They couldn't figure out what plays were going on. Trey Dean's running around like a 4.75 lost puppy, didn't, not knowing where to go. So hopefully that collaboration, between the defensive guys and the team, that's fixed there. And you just kind of, he talks about the transition to the Sun Belt to the SEC. He's answered this questions quite a bit, but he talks about the recruiting process, work process, evaluation process. And they'll, adjust as the years go on. And, you have to in the SEC, man. I mean, everything changes in the SEC. I mean, we've seen Nick Saban go from the, ground and pound and the pro style quarterback. Now he's spreading it out a little bit more, getting some of these dual threat guys. And it's more offensive now than it used to be. Because, I mean, when you went to the SEC, you thought about defense. Now you're thinking about offense when you go to the SEC. And, of course, Kirby probably is still the king of the defense because he was a good defensive coordinator at Alabama, still has an elite defense over there at Georgia. But mostly it's more of an offensive ran conference now than it used to be now. So that's kind of a little bit of the takeaways I got from him. Of course, he gave a shout out to Florida Victorious and how much it's changed in the leadership and just how much they have benefited from the opportunities and the organization and the integrity of the obviously the employees that work there. And it was just really, you kind of got like a little bit more of a refreshing kind of feel from Billy Napier, especially SEC media days. And it makes it kind of excited for year two, kind of excited for Utah. So that's kind of my takeaways that I got from basically just from the whole, I guess, the press conference from myself.
Excited was a big one, but something you said about efficiency, and I loved that he mentioned that too. Look, in a way, Billy's a little bit of a nerd in a good way. This is something that we get talked about all the time. The nerds are talking, and somebody kind of talked about how consistent he is and how he's deliberate in his process and how organized he is and how it takes time for that to get established. And efficiency, it's such a small, minute thing, but it does add up. And he mentioned that as now that they're in the new facility, it takes 10 minutes to go from talking to practice versus before it took 35 minutes. And you're like, who cares? It adds up. It's just an extra 20 minutes each day that you can spend more time on one-on-one or doing an extra practice route, which by the end of summer, by the end of the spring, it's a lot of minutes that you just got back. So that's huge. Another big thing that, speaking to the offensive coordinator position, obviously, we had a big question marks last year on him calling the plays. He's trying to do too much. And I think I agree with that. He mentioned this year, too. He's like, I feel like my list of to-do list is much shorter than it was last year. I have been preaching that and hitting that horn since since February, especially how the recruiting has been ran, so how Friday Night Lights went, how the barbecue went. Everything seems to be moved up. And it seems like he's more in control of where things are headed versus trying to play catch up like he was before. And with all that being said, I think that's going to translate to him having more success calling plays because he's not having to do a million things and playing behind the eight ball. So, you know what? I'm okay with letting him run the plays. I don't think we can go off 1 year and just go, hey, what happened here? You know what I mean? The next thing I want to go off.
Hold on. I see people in the chat saying Rob Sales, the OC. Well, Billy Napier calls the plays. So that's why I said that.
Yeah, look, I think there was times last year where we were wondering who was calling the plays at certain times. I think during Florida State, I think Rob Sell was calling a few of the plays, and we were kind of kicking ass and taking names. But that's just what we were looking from the outside in.
There's another
he had a few
quote
plays in his back pocket, a few plays that they didn't use versus Vanderbilt the week before. I think they were a little bit reserved. I think
For sure.
I think the Rob Sale had a few plays in his back pocket that he was like, God, I think we should run this. They're like, no, hold on to that for next week. Hold on to that for next week.
Lose this game.
He goes, no. But I think we should maybe run it now. Like we should run it now.
So he spoke about Austin. Go ahead.
I was going to say there's another quote that I wanted to read that I did take away from this, that I saved it. He says, "We're not going to allow outside opinion or created narrative to define the reality of the 2023 team. The games are coming. In the meantime, this group will work as it's continued to work." And that's what I like, dude. Billy Napier's not fazed by anything. He does not care what anybody says. Doesn't care if they rank us last. Doesn't care if Lane Kiffin makes a tweet. Doesn't care about any of that kind of stuff, dude. That dude is like laser focused in on his program. I would say that is probably like the best quality I love about Billy Napier.
Yes.
Is he's just not fazed by anything. He does not care whatsoever.
And look, compared to last year to this year, I thought he was cool as a cucumber last year. It feels even cooler this year. Like, he's just comfortable in his own skin. And they even mentioned it on the press, or when they were talking to him, like, you just look more excited and in tune this year than you were in the past. And he quoted the GOAT, Steve Spurrier, was his talking season. And I love that he said that, because look, he hears it. Who doesn't hear it? Everybody's hearing it. The only person that doesn't have to really listen to the noise is Georgia. The noise for Georgia is created noise to trying to just take down the defending champion, which is very easy to defend. But when you've had multiple struggling seasons, it's a lot harder to not ignore the noise, right?
Yeah.
We'll see how that plays out. But Austin Armstrong, this is a big thought here. They asked about Austin. They go, hey, what's your, talk to us about that hire and what makes you so excited. And he talked about his process and the things he's been able to do and how he coached with him at Southern Miss for a little bit. Kirby coached him up for a little bit. Obviously, Bama had him until we plucked him to be our defensive coordinator. I think he was going to Bama to be a linebacker coach. But he said it took me 15 minutes to pick Austin Armstrong. And now that we're into July, going into the end of July, it honestly feels like Austin's been there the entire time. You know what I mean? It's like a good friend. Somebody that you've had for a very long time, they just kind of fit right in. It's like, man, I feel like I've known you forever. That's what Austin Armstrong feels like. And I got to thinking, we've talked about this before, how Saban pushes his coaches out. He won't fire anybody. He's kind of your class act dude where he's like, look, you're going to go elsewhere. Go find somewhere. I'm not getting rid of you, but go find a job so it doesn't look bad on you. Got me thinking, was Patrick Toney more of like, hey, I would start putting some feelers out there before, because I think this relationship, it's going to have to move on, and I've got my eye on somebody. I'm not saying that's what happened, but I don't think Billy would ever fire anybody. I think we might see we'll know, I think with a couple years being underneath Billy Napier, if we see kind of coaches go in and out like that, we'll get a pretty good understanding of like, yeah, that was a push out, not a leave. We'll see. That's just my thought after kind of hearing him talk about Austin Armstrong and how only took it 15 minutes. It's like, I know you know the guy, but that's a pretty big hire to only take 15 minutes. And obviously he's just talking, but, and then what was the last graphic that go ahead?
I was going to say, just with Patrick Toney and all that, I know that those weren't originally like defensive guys that he recruited, but man, that defense was worse than Todd Grantham, man. It was pretty bad.
Yeah.
There was like no pressure. I think he was a very analytic guy, but I think he just got too analytic with it. And just, you're seeing a lot more aggression with Austin Armstrong. And that's what I like. And even if the defense isn't just lights out and top 25, or can you at least get into the 80s or the 70s? That would be a vast improvement from having, 13 stats rated in the hundreds.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the expectations because that's a big point of emphasis of where we ranked on defense. But the last thing was Utah. Brian Kelly talked about it, and Steve and I are going to bicker here for just a minute. Utah is why I love having Utah first. And Brian Kelly mentioned it as well, too, about having Florida State as their first game, is that it allows for your team to be focused these past 3 months, June, July, August. Because that game one, there's a lot of pressure. It's going to be an exciting game. It's a bowl game feeling-esque. So
good way to put it.
It keeps you dialed in versus you're playing a Ball State or McNeese State week one. It's very easy to stroll into that as it's a preseason game. I don't need to be as dialed in. I've got an argument for you because I know what you're going to say.
Okay.
Do you want to go ahead and say it before I argue back?
How are you going to argue back if I don't say it? Like, go ahead and say your argument.
Well, no, because I want you to say your point so I can defend it. Because your point. Go ahead. Your point is that you think it's good to have.
So last year going into the LSU game,
yes,
FSU had already played one game. I want to get against a team I can't even pronounce their name.
Duquesne,
yeah, something like that, right? But they had an opportunity to get their offense on the field, their defense on the field. They had an opportunity to call plays on the field, run package changes, run audibles, run an offense against a team that you know that you are going to beat. So you had the ability to just get out there and not against your own team anymore. You're not in pads or thuds or just, hitting and no tackling. You're running against a actual football team. FSU played a full football game prior to the LSU game. And I believe, especially going into the Superdome in Louisiana against LSU, that had a huge difference and a huge benefit for FSU to be able to put those things together to see where are we missing.
Sure.
What are we not doing right? What are we not communicating effectively? What packages are we not like exchanging? Did we get a personnel package right or wrong, or did we get our defensive line set? Did we get our punt block team set, or heaven forbid in that game our field goal block set right? Did we get those things right in that game? And I think that was a massive advantage for FSU, especially from last year going in, because nobody really understood what type of step FSU was going to take. That game, I believe, gave them the ability to understand that they knew where they needed to fix some things, and I think what they knew they were doing very well, and what they could continue to focus on against LSU.
Yeah, the defense of that, I think for FSU, because of where you were, it made sense to have that game. For LSU and for Florida in their second year, to lock things in, I think it's more beneficial to have a big game like that to keep their eye on the prize and to get everybody dialed in more so, because, again, it's very easy to fall on your feet and to get lackadaisical. With a team that's more established, I believe having that pickup game, that preseason game, could be more beneficial. You could argue this, so you're blue in the face on either way, but I think for where Billy is and where they're at in their cycle, in their process, having that Utah game week 1 is huge. Another big thing about Billy is he mentioned at his press conference when he coached at Arizona State, he's played at Utah or coached at Utah, which I think that's huge. I mean, being able to understand what it's like to be in that atmosphere, obviously that was an advantage to us last year coming to the Swamp. Being able to, he has an understanding of what to expect when to go there. That excites me a little bit. Now, the players don't. They have no clue what that altitude's going to do to them. But, look, I think he'll have an idea of preparation a little bit better than, let's say, the Utah coach had prepping them for the humidity down here, the atmosphere, etc. There is a little bit that kind of soothed me of, like, look, he's run these roads before. So,
yeah, I could see both sides. And, look, I mean, for Florida going to an away, it's going to be hostile. It's going to be hostile. It's going to be a different environment.
I hope so.
And I don't mean a different environment like it's going to be like maybe a stadium they haven't played in before. I think it's going to be a weather that they haven't played in before. And I think people don't really quite understand the difference between 100%
It's the same thing we pressed last year about the humidity
about
thing,
them
where
coming
Utah
down
was like
here.
Joking. I was like, no, it's serious.
No, trust me.
I think it's the same going up, 100%. I'm not sleeping on it by any stretch. It's going to be something. It's going to be a.
But with a new quarterback, I mean, isn't Florida going through kind of what FSU was going through last year? I mean, look, we had Jordan Travis, and he had been in our system for a while, but we still didn't see the quarterback of Jordan Travis that we saw this year. So we didn't really know what we had, right? So I don't know, man. I feel like if I'm Florida, I would love a Duquesne in week 0 to go, but to refine things and see what my quarterback and what
I wouldn't hate an easy game. Don't get it twisted. I wouldn't hate it, but okay. I like it though. I like it. Good stuff there. Go ahead, Dave.
I was gonna say, I guess it's like a double-edged sword. Like if you get that cupcake game before the big game, you can kind of work out the kinks, but at the same time, like you've got something on film for the next week, so the other team can study that. But at the same time, you don't want, if you're playing somebody that's like a cupcake, you're not going to give away your whole playbook anyway, because you could probably easily beat them on the field. So it is kind of
unless they're Vandy.
I was going to say, we talked about this to start the cast.
Easy,
unless you're Vandy and you don't want to give away too many plays, and you keep too much in the back pocket, right?
Well, also, we're not going to have a quarterback that throws it like 20 million feet into the stands as a Hail Mary either. So
that is very much true. So look, with the press conference and Billy breaking everything down, the big question mark for him today was the quarterback room and who's going to be the starting quarterback. He did say that we will know pretty quickly who the starting quarterback is going to be. And the question is the over-under. How many practices is it gonna take until the job's announced? With him saying we're gonna know pretty quickly, and the things that he was saying about Mertz leads me to believe that he is the guy. I know Maximus Prime has been thrown around a lot. We had Princely on. He threw some love towards him as well. I think Max is gonna be great. Could I see Max taking over later in the season? Absolutely, if things aren't going right. But this is Mertz's job to lose. This is, again, he went out there, evaluated all the quarterbacks into the portal. One thing we have said before, everyone that he's went out and got on the portal thus far has came in and been successful. You could argue that the best players on the team have came from the portal last year. Ricky Pearsall, O'Sirens, and Montrell. So could we have another one? Could he do that again with Cam Jackson and the others and these guys coming in? I think so. Look, I'm excited for what Graham's going to be able to do. A lot of praise from him, from the players. Ricky Pearsall had a lot of good things to say about him, as he would. And again, the big question mark, is it a good thing that there's so much question behind who the starter is going to be? I don't know. I think that it's Billy trying to really build confidence in that room, honestly, because why would you come out here and just shut Jack Miller down, somebody who's been in your system for a year, and Max, who's been in your system for a year, and kind of just shut that down right away? I think it's positive. And also, too, I think they talked about with Kirby, you don't want to tell somebody they don't have a job right away because of the portal now. It's so easy just to pack up and leave. So you almost got to tease these guys along anyways, so these guys don't dip out halfway through the offseason. Miami lost a cornerback today. So
yeah, probably told him he wasn't going to start.
Yeah, when is that damn door closed? So we don't have to worry about that thing anymore.
We'll talk about that at a different time. But I thought there was a point in time that you just couldn't enter the portal anymore.
I don't. It's a wild west. Change. We'll call the NCAA. I'm sure they'll have an exact reason of why. I'm sure they've
got it all under control.
Yeah. Dave, what's your thoughts? Who's it going to be, big guy?
I mean, I think it's pretty simple. I beat the drum 1,000 times. I mean, like, you have two quarterbacks Jack Miller's got like maybe one game of experience against Oregon State. You have another quarterback that has zero college experience, and then you have Graham Mertz, who's had over 30 plus starts. So I think the case against who's going to start, I think it's pretty obvious. I mean, they're going to roll out Graham Mertz when they go to play Utah. Now, I'm curious to see who the backup quarterback's going to be. You heard Billy Napier praise Max Brown a little bit more. And I'm not going to say that he just completely threw Jack Miller under the bus or anything like that. But you're going to talk about Max Brown a little bit more. And you're just saying, is Max Brown quarterback number 2? We don't know. I mean, you go back, you look at Max Brown's stats, over 70% completion rating in high school. I mean, I beat that drum a lot too. I mean, can that translate to the college world? I mean, it was quite funny to hear him talk about like Max Brown a little bit more, but at the same time, I don't think there's any question. I think it's going to be Graham Mertz, and obviously, as I said, I'm not going to beat the same drum. I think a new offensive line, some new weapons can help revamp him as a quarterback. But as I said, competition gets harder. We'll see.
I'm excited for Graham. I think, and we'll get into this as the expectations, which comes up next, but I'm really looking forward to it. Do you have any thoughts on the quarterback room, Dave or Steve?
Well, the one thing I will say is I think Billy gave a big tell in his post press conference while he was at the podium. Right, he met with the media, where there's like multiple like microphones, cameras around, open scenario where he has to take questions, and I think one of the reporters really hit the nail on the head, and they asked when he thought he would be ready to make the quarterback decision. And I think Billy really summed it up in the best way that Billy can. And that was when he said, we're going to make a decision when we've decided.
Hey, take it easy, my boy, bro. Bro, I'm watching.
It was it was like, that's what a decision is, Billy, is when you decide.
I'm watching Billy with Todd today, and I'm sitting there, and Todd goes, if you were in there, what would you ask him? And I go, I don't know, Todd, because he's not going to answer what I ask him anyways.
Anyway.
And I don't have any desire to ask him. You have to ask a tough question to really try to pull anything out of and decipher it. And somebody asked a question, and I go, oh, that's a good one. And then he just maneuvered his way out of it and didn't even answer the question. I go, how the fuck does he do that?
Well, we're going to decide on a cornerback on a quarterback when we've decided.
They were asked Ricky a question of what game is circled on your calendar. We ask the guys that all the time. And they go, I don't really care. I'm here to watch it. And even the guy asking him was like, look, I know you're supposed to say, we're ready for everybody, but who are you looking forward to? He's like, look, FSU is always a fun one, and so is LSU, and we're looking forward to playing those guys. And they came back, and they asked Billy, how do you think Ricky handled that little rat-posing question there? He goes, Ricky's a great guy. And he just went on a little rant, didn't even answer the question. I go, this you can't say yes, he did well. You know what I mean?
I do love the fact that after everybody has given FSU such a hard time for the amount of work they've done in the portal to rebuild their roster, that the 5, 6 best players potentially on Florida's roster right now, starting potentially.
Hey, take it easy.
Are from
we're moving on.
From the
We're
portal. Exactly.
All right.
It's weird how that works.
Let's move on. So, Florida expectations for 2023, what's to come? So, this is something that really got me stirred up this week. And you could talk about this with all the SEC teams. I have had a good time watching it. I think it's boring for some people. I've honestly liked watching the critics and the analysts talk about it more than the coaches, because the coach talk, everyone has the same kind of 1-2 punch ending. In the one-on-ones is where you really got more out of the coaches, but hearing them break down their thoughts, breaking down the schools and how they expect them to finish, there's a lot of emotions, which got me. I was telling the guys beforehand, like, look, they're no smarter than the rest of us. I know us fans get a little fanatical at times, but I'm genuinely trying to get better at taking the fandom out of it when having these conversations. I think it's healthier to do that and to be able to make sure that, look, this is a credible thought. I'm not just saying this from a fan perspective, but getting down to the nitty gritty of the SEC. Look, when past Georgia and LSU has really, in my opinion, catapulted themselves in a healthy tier 2. People are going to put Bama up there. I'm not sold on Bama, and I'll have my reasons. We have a segment later about Bama later on. But after that, you got Tennessee probably you can put in a tier, Ole Miss, then Bama, and that's probably its own little tier. But then after that, it's honestly pretty open. I think it's open for grabs. Tennessee's up there as well, but there is some question marks with Milton coming in as quarterback. There's question marks at Kentucky. There's question marks at Mississippi State with a new coordinator, with new head coach. There's a question marks at Vandy. Now, honestly, Mizzou and Vandy are looking probably the healthiest. They've got Mizzou's got 80% of their team coming back. They've got their quarterback coming back. They just seem like they're in a really good position at a time where the SEC is in a weird flipping motion, trying to find themselves. But look, you got to think that Florida, their talent is there. The roster of the talent is there. The weaklings were wide receiver. I would argue the wide receiver room is much better than it was last year. The offensive line, there's a question mark there. The running back room, in my opinion, is much healthier. You got 2 of the same guys you had coming back. Cam Carroll and Trayon Webb is much better than having Naquan right back there. So that room's healthier. Tight end room seems to be a little bit fuller. The defense, we may have lost some key players in Jervon Dexter and Ventrell Miller. I think he did a good job of filling those roles with portal players. There is question marks. You never know what you're going to get, but the praise that we've heard are some good things. So, look, when you go and you lose those 5 of the games we lost by 1 point, you got to think that it's not as, when we're trying to predict the score here and you see Gator fans say 8-4 or 9-3 or 7-5, I think to say that we're going to go to win 5.5 is a little bit disrespectful. It could easily go that way. I think South Carolina is going to be a tough win. Arkansas is going to be a tough win, but I think they're counting us out a lot more than what they should be. Obviously, again, that's a little fandom inside of me as well. And Steve, you're going to have your opinion. But Dave, what's your thoughts on it, big guy?
I love being counted out, man. That just makes me feel phenomenal. I love the bulletin board material. Give it to me all day long. Put us last. Put us everywhere. Put us dead last. They were worse than Vanderbilt and everything else because I know we lost to them. Yeah, just say we're going to be beat. But no, I mean, when you look at it, I think it's going to come down to quarterback play first of all. Of course, Anthony Richardson's out. That is the key to your team is your quarterback. I think I've already went on my spill about Graham Mertz. So I think that's going to be different. So it's going to come down to him. How can he execute? How can he play? Does he get hurt? Who's the backup? Is it going to be Max Brown? Is it going to be Jack Miller if something happens? Does Max Brown execute? Does Jack Miller execute? And then I think it's going to come down to the defense. I mean, as I said, the defense was not the best last year. We got better talent now on the defense. I think we went over the roster a couple weeks ago, and I was feeling pretty strong about the cornerbacks, the defensive line. And I was like, the big question mark is that safety spot with R.J. Moten coming in and some other guys to fill that spot with where Trading and all that was. And we know how awful that spot was for the past 2 or 3 years with him there. I mean, I think that will improve a little bit too. And as I said, if you look and you go back and look at some of the games that we lost by 1 score, or maybe even 10 points, I mean, if you have an average defense, I mean, you probably win like 10 games, if not 11.
Yeah, that's a big point there. If you go look at our defensive ranking last year, it was the best ranking we had in any category was 85th, I believe. I mean, you just give me 20 more spots, and we're that's 2 more games possibly, right? We make a few more stops. We're not 3rd and 11 on it, giving up 19 3rd and 11s a game. There's a big swing there, especially when you lose 5 games by 1 touchdown against teams that were at their peak. Kentucky, last year was their year. Tennessee, lightning in the bottle, okay? We're facing those teams again. The Vandy game was a bad loss. I will continue to beat that drum. That was a pathetic loss. It was horrible. The Florida State game, Jordan Travis single-handedly whooped our ass. The guy was an absolute beast. Can we shut him down this next year? I don't know. But they've got more weapons, so that's going to be a hell of a game. But the advantage that we have is in the swamp. What do we always talk about? What does the home field give you? 3 points?
3 points.
And we lost by 7?
7.
So we're halfway there, right? By being at home. So yeah, a lot of big stuff there. I see Harlan here talking shit, kind of questioning me. Look,
Harlan, what's up, baby?
I get it. And I saw your super chat there. I appreciate your love and support as always. I think he gave like $5 and was talking shit. He said, keep calling out the BS, Holly. Someone's got to break the echo chamber in here. Hold on, let me go real quick before you chime in. Oops, Steve. Look, I hear, I know the FSU fans and non-Florida fans are going to go blah, 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 blah. This is the same drum that you guys beat. You guys are expected to go to the ACC championship as you should have that expectation. But look, I mean, you can't disagree with me that the SEC East especially is probably more open than it was last year for business and an opportunity to not first place. I think Georgia has that lock. I'm not going to sit here and try to say that we're on the same level as Georgia, but Tennessee, there's a little bit of a reset. Kentucky is a pretty big reset. I did forget they got their running back from Ray Davis from Vanderbilt. So there's a loss. There's a little bit of a cut to Vandy as well. Go ahead.
I was going to say, and they got O'Leary too. So.
Yeah.
Kentucky.
Yep, and so they have a new offensive coordinator. There is something funny about the offensive coordinator at Kentucky. He was the offensive coordinator in 2021. He left to go to the NFL and was the offensive coordinator of the Rams. The Rams, mind you, were ranked last in offensive production last year while at the Rams. So he came back to Kentucky, but he did obviously was part of that great 2 years ago, great Will Levis year. So I think they're excited to have him back, as they should be. But what's your thoughts on this mayhem, Steve, of the great Florida football team in their 10-2 season?
Look, I think this, believe it or not, like the schedule, huge amount of production and start at the quarterback role.
You're calling it right now. South Carolina upsets Georgia week 3.
I can see it. And I don't hate that pick. And I'm not saying that I want South Carolina to win.
Yeah, it's not a hate pick. If you look how it comes, right? Spencer Rattler's going to walk into that game cocky and confident as hell, and we saw what he's able to do against.
Cocky? Was that a?
You see what I did there?
Yeah. I see what you did.
He's going to be rolling off that high that he had last year, and this is he was a Heisman candidate his freshman year, fell off his second year, lost himself, and found himself the last few games, and now he's going to be able to roll into the first 2 games. More than likely, they should steamroll them, and they're going to roll up in. I believe it's at South Carolina that game.
I believe so, yeah.
Which is massive. It's probably going to be a night game if I had to guess. 7:30, mark your calendars.
Why wouldn't it be, right?
And Georgia's
7:45.
That's going to be Georgia's first real test. And South Carolina is going to have, Georgia's in a place where every team has them circled. And if that's going to be South Carolina's best opportunity, and it's going to be Georgia's first real test, and you've got a quarterback that's on his 3rd year, he's hungry, he's ready to rock and roll, in a team that honestly, everyone picked them to do pretty well. They were that kind of 50-50 team. I think they get it done in week 3.
That could be one of those weird games where you start to see a team like a South Carolina who's been putting the right pieces in place right through the portal.
They could be the Tennessee of last year.
They could be again. But yeah. I mean, we're talking about a conference that had overwhelming talent at the same position, at the quarterback position, that is just in so many places hitting, the reset button and trying to find out which one actually had the right guy in their back pocket ready to go. And I don't know if Carson Beck was that guy in Georgia. I mean, is? Yeah. Is Sid? Is it Sid?
No, you said is. You said he is the right guy.
Is Carson Beck the right guy? Because I mean, they picked him to be the.
I think so. The guy's 3 years in. I mean, this is
like Vander Griffin Biller.
You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of what Saban did for quite some time, where it's like every quarterback just stepped up, and it was like they had just a slew of them lined up. That's where Georgia is right now, and Beck to me is just like a what's the guy's name in New England right now? Mac Jones. Just kind of just steps up, throws him in, he's going to be fine. Yeah. No big deal. That's why I think Carson
Mac
Beck's
Jones is a
be.
backup for Jameis Winston. He was like, I can't start over to this guy, so I'm just going to go to Alabama and, I don't know, win national championships.
Seems reasonable.
That's cool.
Yeah, and I think what's really cool too is like along with the new quarterbacks, like a lot of them are transfers with experience. I mean, you got O'Leary, Mertz, Daniels, Buckner, and then I think Georgia is the only team with not an experienced quarterback. I mean, it's going to be Beck's first year starting, but I mean they got a whole boatload of talent. I mean, so you've got a lot of experience coming to the SEC just per transfer portal, but it's all new quarterbacks.
Yeah, that is true. There is experience.
And we broke down Devin Leary a little bit today.
I thought Sam Hartman more we broke down.
We talked about both, but I mean Sam Hartman we really got into the numbers. But I think Devin Leary we looked at a little bit as well, and
he was nothing
he was
crazy.
Pedestrian.
Yeah, nothing flashy, nothing like Sam. Sam was putting up 350
Sam was killing
a game.
It, bro.
Yeah, but Devin Leary
4,000 years last in 2000. Yeah, 2022.
I'm saying Leary. It's Leary. My bad.
Yeah, it's Leary.
Leary, but Leary wasn't anything he wasn't anything exciting to write home about. I mean, he's not. I don't think he's going to replace Will Levis.
He's not Levis.
But I think, look, it's better than what they probably had lined up.
Sure.
So
sure.
Yeah.
And obviously getting Ray Davis from Vanderbilt, and they still have is it Smoke? No, they have Chris Rodriguez still, I believe, right? Smoke went to Colorado.
Yeah, he moved.
But they still have, I'm pretty sure they have Chris Rodriguez. So if you got Rodriguez and Ray Davis, that's a hell of a 1-2 punch. That you could argue that's probably up there in the top 3 running back rooms because those guys are good. So we'll see. Look, good conversation there. Let's pass it over to Steve here. Obviously, with us getting the flip, there's a lot of questions on what's to come. There's a lot of noise that came out over the last week here, written by a FSU beat writer that Lester your biggest fear is Colorado. I called bullshit. I think it was a typical FSU move. You guys are just trying to stir the pot. Typical, some shit Harlan would do, just to kind of like make the news about you, to make it seem like we stole him back from Dion. You know what I mean? Like that's how it felt. That it was a creative story. I think it was an on-3 guy, so it makes sense.
It sounds like something Billy would do.
Who?
Like, Billy. It sounds like something Billy would do, like where he like gets 7 commitments in one weekend in order to have this wave.
That's an actual thing that's happening versus like a creative narrative.
So you got to create the news in order to be the news, baby.
Don't. That's a horrible comparison.
What are you talking about? You got to create the news. You got to create the news sometimes in order to make
getting
the
a commit and then creating news that something that may or may happen just to like make you relevant is not the same thing.
Static, baby.
Hey,
static.
Y'all need to be quiet. Y'all need to be quiet before you give Newberg any kind of new ideas. Just be quiet.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, comment of the night. Anyone who names their kid Harlan is stupid. Hey, take it easy on our boy Harlan.
He's our man. He's our.
But
dude.
let's talk, Steve. Let's let Steve have the mic. We rambled enough. He sat here for an hour of us talking Florida football. We can give him.
It is. We've been talking football. It's not just Florida football. It's football, and that's what we're here for. Look, in the high top families in here just going bananas. So by all means, look. I mean, we said going in. July was going to be a big month for FSU. I'll be honest with you. I did not expect that there would be as few decommitments as there was commitments. But look,
give me real quick. Give me an honest grade so far.
Okay.
Of what you expected and how it's been thus far. It's not over,
right?
But is it underwhelming of what you anticipated, or is it kind of right where you thought it would be, or are you a little upset?
I'd give it a B, maybe a B+ so far.
But you were hoping for an A-.
I was hoping for at least an A, yeah. And that's with a JoJo situation.
Sure.
We'll talk. I'll talk about
Abrams,
that.
You knew that was going to happen, so that one's that
right.
really,
Yeah.
that's
it's
a
just
wash.
bad timing, I think, for the month.
Sure.
For the month, and it's almost like Abrams, why you've been like this for a minute? Like,
Why
why'd
now?
you wait now?
That's
Yeah,
just-
I don't know.
because
but
news is
you know what?
news.
Because Billy knows how to create some static.
I mean,
don't.
Billy's
So when
great at
Billy
his job.
creates some static,
Billy does a good. He got a committee actually is doing something. But as you
I see. All right, look, we're still going through a hell of a month here. We've got Charles Lester coming up on the 28th, which is just right here at the end of the month. There's also a major FSU recruiting weekend coming in on the 29th. They've got a massive event. All kinds of folks coming in. So Charles Lester is committing on the 28th and is scheduled to be in Tallahassee on the 29th. I won't put those two things together. However, I do not trust Deion Sanders at all whatsoever, period. So there is always a 70-30 chance. I'll do this. I'll give Deion Sanders as much of a chance as he does foot-to-toe ratio on whether he gets Charles Lester, which is about 20%. 20% chance that Deion Sanders can get Charles Lester. Look, I'm an FSU guy.
So,
I like Deion Sanders.
Keep it moving.
All right, KJ Bolden. There's still some static with this guy, man. I know everybody's like, no, there's no chance he doesn't go to Georgia. Georgia just had a decommit from a safety.
To make room for KJ
Bolden. So I'll put that as a sliver of a hope in like 10%. But he's supposed to be committing on the 5th of August. Jalewis Solomon, I'm back and forth with him. He's a linebacker. FSU is in dire need of linebackers. We'll talk about that as we get closer to the season on the depth issue that FSU is already dealing with at that position. But Jalewis Solomon is down to Auburn, South Carolina, and Florida State. He was supposed to be in South Carolina coming up maybe this weekend or next, but then switched it to Auburn all of a sudden. FSU looks like they're probably on the outside looking in there. Look, I mentioned JoJo Trader, and I know he's already committed to Miami. I'm saying his recruitment is not over. I know he's committed. Look, if Miami's 3 or 4 games in and they're
that's true,
abysmal. He's got some things that are keeping him home. He's got some things that are outside of football. I'm not going to go into it, that are keeping him home in Miami, and he's trying to stay home.
As much as I love that JoJo went to Miami, I could see that being a big flip for you guys. I really do. I think that's a thing. Just with how it's been, I mean, Miami it's one of those schools where it's flashy to commit to them, but it's also flashy to decommit from them.
It's a hard place to leave. And Miami's always been like that to the athletes in the muck and in like the Fort Lauderdale area in Miami. It's hard to leave there because the pressure around you.
They lost 2 big ones last year. They lost Rashada and Amar-Kramani. So
they did. But right now, like look, they've got JoJo, and I'm not gonna lie. I think right now, LaWayne McCoy, a recruit for a wide receiver, a high-level wide receiver recruit for FSU, I believe is going to end up kind of I'm calling it right now, so everybody cannot just give me a damn hard time at 10:30 at night. LaWayne McCoy, the wide receiver commit for FSU, I believe eventually will probably flip and go to Miami. He's also from Miami. Miami kids just get so much pressure on them not to leave. It's like trying to recruit any kid from Alabama or Louisiana. You're just stuck going there. Up against it, right? But JoJo, I still think we got a chance with. There's still a season ahead. We have not had an official visit with him, and he's been in Tallahassee multiple times. Obviously, Abrams flipped. Any FSU fan that tells you that they did not want Abrams in this class is lying to you. It's not that we didn't want him. It's just
we already did this. You don't have to revisit.
But look, I mean, FSU has a massive event coming up on the 29th.
Is it like your barbecue weekend?
It's similar thing. We're just not calling it a barbecue weekend. It's a similar thing.
Is it when you did your the water balloon fight last year? This is that same
something like that. Okay. Yeah, it's probably chicks.
What's your prediction for Jeremiah Smith? I think you have another multi-day visit. This obviously
he's coming on the 29th. He's going to be on the 29th. He was supposed to be in Florida on the 29th, and he's going to be in Tallahassee.
Here's worst case scenario here. And I know this is where like Harlan and you guys kind of get
Best
horny.
case.
Like you guys, look, I will say FSU, they're little mafia dirtballs, okay? Florida, our problem is we can't keep a damn secret. If something happens, we have too many people that want to rush to the fences to tell everybody what's happening. Dave can attest to that. Florida State, on the other hand, you guys get news and put it in your little purses and close that thing tight because all of you guys have purses. And so, look, there's a weird feeling that I have that they're either conspiring against everybody, which everybody being the non-FSU fans, that they're trying to get JoJo and Jeremiah. Because how do those guys split up? We always talk about package deals. I feel like out of the package deals, that one seems like, hey, let's go somewhere together and let's dominate. Now, they both could be number one anywhere they went. I think that's probably where their head's at.
Sure.
But if you lose McCoy, you lose an Abrams. It's like we're clearing way here. Don't see. Look at his face. He's trying to play this game, but he knows what I'm talking about. That's the end goal, that they land Lester, Jeremiah, and JoJo, which would be insane. Obviously, I'm hoping that doesn't happen.
Maybe Jeremiah just wants a payday for a visit.
They don't get paid for visits. You gotta actually come to the school. I get the free food and everything.
Yeah. Real quick, super chat from Dom. This is gold here.
Oh, God.
I was cheesing out. He goes, Holly's left side of his upper lip goes up higher than the other when he talks.
Yeah, that's true.
And
That's 100%.
watching it, and I was cheesing out. I was like, it does.
That's 100% true.
I love it.
I talk out of one side of my mouth. Thank you,
this.
Dom. I appreciate you.
I did not notice that. I did not notice that at all.
I'm deaf in one ear. I talk to my good ear.
I love this. Hey, you guys are enjoying this. We haven't really had a chance to plug the show, but smash the damn like button. I mean, my goodness, what are we doing here? We got over 300 people in here hanging out with us tonight, and that's 200 likes. It takes 2 seconds.
It's at the bottom of the screen. Just
if anything, like for us to get a Holly lip surgery so we can even the damn thing out. You know what I mean? Help us out here. Let's even this son of a bitch out. Let's move on. So is Bama outdated? # low tide. I thought that was pretty good.
Oh, that was nice.
That was nice. Thanks,
well
guys. Thank you, Steve. I thought it was well done. So the shtick that Bama seems to run with every year, and the reason why I'm bringing it up now, and I noticed it this year, was their shtick is that we're outnumbered, we're being disrespected, we've got the greatest coach of all time. We just won the championship 2 years ago, or like whatever the narrative is every year. It's always that our backs are against the wall. They think we're down and out. Nobody is expecting us to win. Yada yada yada. It's the same story year in and year out. Typically, it's okay and it works, but now you're 2 years not winning, which isn't that horrible. But for Saban standards, it's atrocious. And I noticed Kirby. Last year, they played that shtick that our back's against the wall, everybody's doubting us, we're losers, we suck. It worked. This year, I was expecting the same thing to come out, but it wasn't. It was fighting complacency. It was more of a humble approach, and I loved it. I talked about it 2 shows ago where I love his take on it. He goes, look, he accepts the fact that, hey, we are much better than, we know that we're good. We know that we're here and that we have arrived. And so we're going to go look at who somebody else was having major success, and looked at a rugby team out in New Zealand to how do we channel what they're doing. I'm not going to play this puppy dog card anymore. We are going to play like everyone's out to get us. We know that. I don't mind being here. I don't mind being the top dog, but we need to learn how to manage that control. I love that. It's different. Is it going to work out? We'll know soon enough. But Bama keeps playing the same card. One of their players said, we're going to go undefeated and we're going to win the national championship. That's old. You can't do that. You just lost the best player, the 2 best players in college football, according to the NFL draft, arguably the two top 5 players in the NFL, and couldn't get it done. Lose to Tennessee, lose to LSU. LSU's better this year. Tennessee's still going to be hungry. You still got to get through Georgia. It's going to be a gauntlet. And like I said, I think Bama has came down to reality, and they are no longer in that tier all by themselves. Is the dynasty over? I think if you're still a competitive team, because think about it for the New England, they're considered a dynasty. They didn't win every year, but they were always competitive. Bama's in that same category, so I'm never going to say the dynasty is over. I think Georgia has started their dynasty, but I don't think it's over. Steve?
Well, I mean, look, it feels like what Alabama's dealing with now is what Ohio State has been dealing with for the last 6 years. They're a great team. They play the hell of it. They play the hell of it out of the regular season. They play some very competitive games, and then they end up losing enough to keep them out. Not that they're not a good football team. They're just not the best team in the NCAA, and it hasn't been that way in going on, 3-4 years. And look, like, how dare I say, as an FSU fan, that Alabama's not a national championship caliber team. They've been close enough. They've been good enough. They just haven't won the damn games that they needed to be there. They've been the Ohio State of college football. They've out Ohio State in the last year. So I think that's kind of where they're at right now, is until they can – it's not that they're the underdog. It's not that they have their backs against the wall. It's not that they're the target. It's not that they are – anything other than their own worst enemy. They got to be, if they want to be Bama again, they got to go back to being Bama. And Bama used to beat the shit out of teams without a doubt.
Look,
right?
And so I think you mentioned it too, at the shot towards Bill O'Brien. And I think
that was a big one.
We preferenced it a little bit at the beginning of the show, where they called him out of like, look, did you get too caught up in the fact that you had Will Anderson, that you had Bryce Young, that you forgot, you went away from what you know. You went away from Bama football, which is give the ball to Derrick Henry, give the ball to Trent Richardson, give the ball to Mark Ingram, and let the man
think
work.
Think about how many years that all the Alabama quarterback had to do was turn around and hand the damn ball off, and every quarter or every running back that he was handing the ball to is now an NFL starter, or at least an aged NFL starter for that matter. And now they have Roy Dell, and I think he's another great one. But I think Saban, even in his own like press conference here, said we got too Bryce centric, and I don't think that's a shot at Bryce. I don't think that's a shot at the former quarterback. I think
he said that's not on Bryce. Bryce is doing what Bryce is doing what's expected of him.
But what he's saying is that's not Alabama football. We got away from Alabama football, and we started to run an offense in a offensive.
We need to go back to recruiting the doughy quarterbacks.
That's it. That's it right there. Turn around and just take dude. Just
no more 5 stars.
Give me a guy that can't throw it 45 yards. Give me an AJ McCarron all day. Right? An A.J. McCarron will win me 3 national championships because I can't throw the damn thing. I got to have 19 running backs in an offensive line that can basically start for the NFL right away. That's it. That's what they were winning championships with.
I think
now they got athletic quarterbacks.
We're going to see Bama go back to that.
Yeah.
Now, that's what scares me. I did see Travis says Bama always says down year, then still wins a natty. Well, look, they've had two down years. I say down in quotations because it's not really a down year. For Bama standards, it's a down year. But look,
let me rebuttal here, man. I mean, they did lose Kirby Smart, and Kirby Smart was one hell of a recruiter for them and one hell of a defensive coordinator. Now he's at Georgia. And if you've noticed, Alabama's defenses fell off. And I think that's what's really holding them back is their defense. Like, the teams are able to score in Alabama now. They never used to be able to score as much. Like,
that's a good point.
Look it up. If you go on rankings, you look at like, how many points they've given up every year, like per FBS, pre-Kirby Smart or post-Kirby Smart. It's been a lot more. And on top of that, man, I don't care what Nick Saban says in his presser and say, oh, woe is me. You recruited like 9 5-stars last year and like 1 million top 100 players, man. You got like all the talent in the world. Plus, on top of that, some experienced players. I don't want to hear that, dude. Put your guys out there on the field, scheme it up, and win the football game. I mean,
and that's where obviously
if we were recruiting like this, and my coach was going out there saying that, I'd be like, dude, you have all the talent. You have more talent than Georgia does right now. Georgia's number 2 in talent composite compared to you.
And that's why you can never sleep on Bama, because of the talent pool that is just constantly flowing through Tuscaloosa. It's not going anywhere, and that's expected. Look, I love Nick. He's the GOAT. I'm not trying to downplay this at all, but it's just like all good things come to an end, and I don't want it to come to an end. I like seeing guys dominate. As much as I'm not part of it, it's fun to watch. It's something that we'll go back and go, man, that was a hell of a time. Do you remember what Saban just ran college football? Like, it's fun. It sucks when you're in it, but it's cool. Yeah. It's a good time. So I'm not trying to like be
I was just going to say, I think if he gets him a good DC, he'll be fine. I think that defense has just been lacking, and that's kind of why he's been losing like these close games to like A&M and all that. I think the defense is kind of what really just kind of held them back. I mean, they've never had an issue with offense at all.
That's a big thing for me too, because another point that I was going to make with Jeremy Pruitt was their target for defense. Yep. The defensive coordinator that's in now was a plan B. I know he's there now. Pruitt was plan A, but all what happened with Pruitt, plan A's gone out the window now. So I'm not saying this guy can't come in and do a good job, but I don't feel like this move was a permanent move for Alabama. It seems it's going to have to be now. But Just a lot of things aren't really falling their way like it has in the past.
Yeah, the talent goes in and out of Tuscaloosa, Alabama, about as fast as a Dodge Charger through Athens, Georgia.
Okay. Oh, God. This place is incredible. Real quick, before we move on to the next topic, hope you guys enjoy that. Smash a like, show some love.
Oh,
is Derek Sanders says, when High Top respects Tennessee, then I will stop trolling. First of all, Tennessee started it, okay? I'm just going to finish it. I don't think that I started talking shit about Tennessee until your boy Sports J came in here. There was a time where Tennessee fans really went pretty heavy with us. I have no beef or dog in the fight with Tennessee. That'd be like picking on my little brother. Like congrats, you won one fight. Like, leave me alone. You know what I mean? Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, who's that guy that clips up like all of our videos on that Tennessee channel?
Sports J.
Sports
Like,
J.
you guys come at me. Like, I'm not talking shit with you guys, right? Like, and also too, Tennessee, I did a prediction of your schedule. I thought that was pretty fair. I wasn't even being a troll about it. So get out of your feelings. Got nothing against Tennessee. I think you guys are riding high on a good season, as you should. I'm not sold on it yet. I have said that. That's not me being a troll. It's me being factual. Prove me wrong. LSU had a phenomenal year. Joey Burrow, guess what? Lightning in a bottle. It is what it is. That's all that I'm saying. So we'll see here. He's all fired up in the chat about it. But, yeah, it's the new Tift. You're right, Trav. That's what I'm saying. We've had plenty of Tennessee guys come in here and just run bananas for no reason whatsoever, because you guys won one time. You have no clue what it's like to win. You show it, and then you just look like a baboon in here running around. Our last bit before we get into tweets of the week is my underrated team of the year that is getting slept on, extremely disrespected. I'm excited to hear what that to say. Big Ten week is the underrated Blue. Go Blue. Michigan, I looked at a preseason poll, is ranked 6th. They're behind Texas, and I'm big on Texas. I love me some Texas football. I think Quinn Ewers is going to be really good. I think Sarkisian is going to be good. I think they're going to do some great things. They did lose Bijan Robinson, but I am high on Texas. I have been definitely biased in that regards. But to put Michigan behind them, and I think maybe I myself have done that as well. But we got to take a second here. Michigan is going on back-to-back years with best offensive lineman, looking to go to a three-peat for best offensive line. They won the award for best offensive line for the last 2 years. Arguably the best running back room in the country. They've got a Heisman candidate quarterback on staff. And then look, their weak part is obviously going to be the defense cornerback or DB area. But you've owned Ohio State the last 2 years. You go and you lose against a TCU. I think they might have got outcoached, got a little bit outplayed by that defensive scheme at TCU, and Harbaugh maybe got taken back a little bit. But something that Michigan is doing, in my opinion, is they're moving in the right direction, right? They're putting themselves into the right places. They're playing in bigger games, and it's going to catch eventually. It reminds me of what Georgia had done up until they won, right? They found themselves in the big game, SEC, they get it done. They go to playoff, they lose. They get into the SEC, they win, etc., and then they finally figure it out and get it done. Sometimes you need a few opportunities to get there to know what it feels like. You got a quarterback that was in a playoff game coming back. Out of all the teams that are ahead of them, i.e. Bama, Ohio State, Georgia, Texas, they're the only team that has a playoff quarterback coming back. And their running back wasn't even there. Their running back was hurt.
Yep.
So I think Michigan's going to be a real genuine threat this year over Ohio State. Look, I think that's obviously going to be their challenge. Penn State's always going to be something to work with, but I think Big Blue is going to be someone when we do our Final Four predictions, they're going to be up there. As much as I hate to say it, I think they're going to be somebody, a force to be reckoned with. Obviously, the Big Ten, I think, they're in a weird place too. Outside of Penn State having their quarterback come back, a lot of Penn State a lot of Big Ten quarterbacks left. Michigan State's left, Wisconsin's left, Ohio State's left. Yeah. Since Cincinnati is in the Big 12, I was thinking, where did Emory Jones go? But I don't know. I think they're going to be better than what people are giving them credit for. Dave, do you have a thought on that?
Yeah, I mean, like, you go back to the last year, even the playoff game. I mean, they've already beaten Ohio State 2 years in a row. You go back to that playoff game, it took TCU a lot to beat Michigan. I mean, you called that
hell of a football game.
Fumble at the goal line, then they turned over the ball. I think there was like a pick six. I mean, there were a lot of turnovers in that game that helped TCU out. And that's why, like, when Georgia went up against TCU, I was like, dude, Georgia's going to blow them out. There's no way. Like, it took TCU a lot just to beat Michigan in that one game. I think you're right. I think Michigan, especially J.J. McCarthy coming back and being, I guess, obviously healthy and everything else and experience. I think that, you got that that offensive line, that defensive line there. I mean, they're really good in the trenches as well. I think Michigan can go all the way once more again. Of course, you got that hurdle, like you said. Penn State's a little bit of a hurdle, but you got that big hurdle. Ohio State, who recruits top 5, top 3 every single year. And, Ryan Day, man, if he loses to Michigan,
I'm not sold on Ryan Day. I've been beating that drum. I think you've had better talent the last 2 years to beat Michigan, and you've been beaten by the hardball machine.
Not just Michigan, but I mean, like I think that they could have beat and should have beat Georgia.
Georgia, yeah, you're right. Yeah,
they were right there, and those are the games that, like, your talent to talent, toe to toe. You got to be able to win that game. You got to put that over the top.
We talked about the Jim Tressel, the Mark Ricks. They've fallen right into that category. Great coach. I mean, look, I think with Ohio State, you're always going to be there. Ohio State's always going to recruit at an elite level, regardless of what's sitting at the throne. I mean, they had a bowl ban in 2012. Didn't miss a beat. Won the championship 2 years later with Urban Meyer. It didn't even matter to them. And I talked about how Tennessee, if they got a bowl ban, how that could be detrimental to the program. Ohio State didn't skip a beat, right? So it's never been a lack of talent. That they can't utilize that excuse. They've got quarterbacks coming out the woo-haw out there in Ohio State, elite wide receivers with Brian Hartline. They've pumped talent into the NFL. They got to start winning some damn football games, and it starts with Ryan Day. And I just don't think they're going to do it. So, look, keep your eyes out for Big Blue, boys and girls.
Here, real fast, let's just run down Michigan's schedule real quick.
Let's do that. Yeah,
real fast. And so, look, I'm not saying that Michigan isn't going to be a great team, but let's just give them, like, let's say they're above average. They start with East Carolina. They
Tough
go
one.
UNLV at home.
It's gonna be brutal.
Bowling Green.
Nail biter.
Rutgers.
Shimmering.
By week 5, they play a new coach.
Wisconsin.
Nebraska.
Oh, Nebraska.
That
could be a fun game.
And now we go to Minnesota. PJ Fleck. You never know what goes on out there.
That could get dicey out there.
A wild game with Indiana. Oh boy. The big Michigan State game, because we know that Michigan State's not purged of talent.
Yeah, I was about to say who just lost their entire roster.
Every freaking thing. Let's see. The other team in Indiana, Purdue.
Wait, they're playing basketball or football?
Yes.
Okay.
They'll do both this year.
Okay.
And then they've got so then this is how they end their season.
It gets tough.
Penn State.
That's gonna be tough.
At Maryland.
That's a tough game with Tua's little brother there. That's a tough game.
Yeah, and then Ohio State.
They don't even play Wisconsin.
No, they're not on the list.
My goodness.
Wow.
Oh wow. It's at Ohio State, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, that's gonna be tough. So that's a tough close. Tough close. That's how their schedule always is.
I was gonna say Nebraska got like a lot of our transfer players too.
They did get a few. They did get 2 or 3 of them. You're right. So look, that could be.
Oh crap! I just thought about this. Like, didn't USC get a couple of Florida O-line recruits?
They got 2, but one didn't. I think Ethan White didn't stay. They only got one. Only one stuck.
Because then they grabbed a couple of new recruits in this cycle that FSU thought they were going to get. So that means like USC's offensive line is just bolstering.
Oh yeah, USC is going to be that's a whole other animal. I mean, they're a Final Four team in my opinion. You got Blue and USC locked into that Final Four, just because the divisions are both whack. I think the other 2 spots are pretty wide open, but it's gonna be good stuff. Well, boys, we're still running 300 strong at 10 o'clock at night, and gotta just tell you that just tickles my my sphincter, so I love it. Moving on to our last topic of discussion. Dave's favorite topic, tweets of the week.
Let's go.
So Dave, I didn't tell you this before the show because I didn't want to, have you bickering, but I only used 2 of the 3 because the third one, I think it was poking fun at FSU, and I feel like we've done enough of that. There was 2 of the 3 were poking.
No, hold on. There's never enough of that.
No, I'm gonna have Steve on suicide watch on the way home. I couldn't do it. So we've only look. The one that we have is good. It's a poke at FSU, but it's a goal.
Oh.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
Here we go.
It's a good one. It's a good one. It's a good one.
How is it a good one?
You're gonna appreciate it.
Just do it.
I doubt that.
Okay, we'll leave it up for the debate. This is the first one. I thought it was absolutely. This is. Now, somebody says like, "Hey, we don't get to see the tweets because we're listening in the car."
So we have to describe it.
Yeah, so it's the photo from SEC Day of Kirby holding his number 1 finger up, but someone photoshopped handcuffs around his
He's
hand.
got a football in one hand, almost in the Heisman pose. And the other hand, he's holding up the number 1 finger because they've been number 1 2 years in a row. And then somebody has taken a set of handcuffs and dangled it around the number 1 finger.
Yes.
Yeah, so
it's subtle, but
it's not subtle.
Not really.
it's about as unsubtle.
I
as
mean,
you
it's
can
dude.
get.
It's one. I mean, it's very easy. It's very subtle.
Sure.
I almost when I clicked on it, I go, what is he sending me?
No, I get it. Yeah.
yeah. It was just a photo. Wasn't really a tweet, but I thought it was fun.
It's okay.
It's good. And then this. Okay, so this is it, Steve.
Here we go.
It's good.
That's not good.
It's good. What cheesed me out is it looks like my son. It looks like my son who just like gives you the look of like what's up, bro. So it's like a baby doll like looking at you like what the hell, bro? And it says Chroma Hulk looking at Mike after whiffing on JoJo and losing Abrams. Like, what's up, bro? It's good, right? It's good. Come on. It's good.
It does look like your son. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, like it's a beautiful doll.
Yeah, but like it's just like his big eyes and his punky little nose, and it's just like what's up, dude?
Yeah. The just unsequestered like what the f- is going on here. Look on his face. I love it. Yeah, which is like Beck. Yeah. He's always got that.
See,
like, what the fuck is going on here?
I told you would enjoy it.
All right, I like that one. All right.
I told you. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad.
It wasn't that bad. I think the other one was a little aggressive. I can't remember now what it was. I feel like at this point we're gonna have to show it.
Yeah, you gotta show
just
the
roll
other
with it. Just roll with it. I've taken enough of a beating in the last.
Honestly,
2 days.
I think too. When I pulled it up, I was like, I don't get it. It didn't make sense to me.
Oh well, if it doesn't make sense, then what's the?
Oh no! It was a Miami one.
Oh well, then why are we not doing it?
I didn't like it.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't understand it either. Hold on.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Oh, because the class as a whole is a trailer and Trader's a Ferrari. Like, why are you parking a Ferrari in your shitbag trailer?
Oh, okay. All right. Hold on.
All right.
I'm pulling it in. We're making a last minute edition here. I'm sorry, guys.
Sit tight, folks. This actually isn't bad. It took me a second, but I got it.
The whale thing threw me off. So this is
because it's so good.
And it's of course from our favorite Twitter.
Who?
Yeah, our favorite Twitter, Blue and Orange Gator. So it's a trailer park, and it has the trailer park labeled Miami Class of 2024, aka Whale, and then it has a Maserati parked in the trailer saying it's Trader. Like, what? It doesn't make sense.
Right.
It's not
why do you have this guy in that trailer?
That was pretty good. I'm glad I pulled it out. Sorry, Dave. I'm sorry. I'm too dumb. Maybe I should run it by you guys.
If you don't ever understand a tweet I send you, yeah, just let me explain it.
I'm not. My brain's not as big as yours, Dave. I'm sorry. Ed DePriest has been lurking. Great show tonight. Look, I hope you guys enjoy it. Obviously, we strive to put the best show on each day or each week on Wednesday night because it is the best night of the week. We ran about 300 strong in here. Didn't get enough likes. I'm a little upset we didn't hit 200 likes. I think that's. I don't know if it's because Steve's ugly. I don't know. It's what it is. What it is. But look, guys, we have a jam-packed week still in store for you guys today. I think I'll be on the Mark Rogers show. I should be. He's a busy man. Where the game plan is for me to be on his show tomorrow to talk about SEC Media Week for Florida yesterday. Are we still set up for Saturday, Dave? Can we talk about that?
I have not gotten in contact with him yet. Actually, I was busy today, but I will get in contact.
We can talk about it though, right? I can at least. We have plans to be on Coach Hayes' show to talk about On3 stuff. So we'll see.
This is going in your permanent file of High Top Sports HR.
This is going to Paylocity for sure. But we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully some things pop off, and maybe we'll get some more good news. Obviously, we have Robinson who is committing tomorrow, so we could be live for that as well. So turn the bell on, be ready to rock and roll. You never know what's going to go live. But we do have our football show on Sunday where Cody has been crushing it with his predictions. He crushed the Bill Belichick being on the hot seat, and then Colin Cowherd today spoke about Bill Belichick being on the hot seat. So clearly, Colin and Bill watched the show together. Billy Napier.
This isn't the first time this has happened to us, and I want to say in the last,
we've been pretty spot on here.
We joke about it. But there's been a couple of times that you and I have had
in
Soda here. We've had a couple of conversations. We've thrown some things out there, maybe some hot takes.
Starting to get
weird. And all
of
a sudden, I got some stuff on my timeline that sounds a whole lot about what we just talked about, a whole lot similar about what we just talked about.
He predicted Hard Knocks forcing the Jets to do Hard Knocks, which happened. He predicted Josh Jacobs probably not being signed, which didn't happen. We had in a segment 3 weeks ago about running backs in the NFL dying. It has exploded over the internet the last few days with Saquon. Go ahead.
Did Cody play Powerball? Because if he did, just remember me.
I don't know. I don't know what he's doing. I think he's too busy working on graphics and writing up the shows each week, but he's definitely not been playing the Powerball because he's still texting me.
He's buying all the tickets under the high top credit card. So I think if he wins, I think we're by.
We've got to work on his personality a little bit. I told him he's got to loosen up a little bit. He's like a computer machine. You know what I mean? He's the machine that like ESPN and them have, like the brain behind the operations. He's got a brain for radio. I love him.
We love him though.
He's an absolute grinder.
You're the man, dude.
He's been spot on though. He has been dialed in. So the show is incredible. It's a good time. So hang out with us on Sundays at 7:35, and obviously it's only going to heat up as the NFL season goes. I know a lot of you guys don't like NFL, and I respect that. That's totally fine. But if you guys do want to get more talk and don't see our faces enough, come by, say hey. It is a good time. And we do kick back and relax. But you guys, it's been a pleasure. Good seeing you two, as always, on Wednesday. Absolutely love Wednesdays. I was in a funk today, and I usually come into these shows fired up, and I was in a funk, and you guys got me out of it. So thank you. Appreciate you guys. Love you guys. Until next time, I'm Shelton.
And I'm Holly.
And I'm the Dave Meister.
Boogada, 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 boys and girls. Ow. Be good. Have a good night. Stay blessed. Love you. Drop a like. Come on, 200 likes, baby. Let's go.
I gotta take what I hate and finally make a move. I think of you and all the shit you don't do. Well, I'ma make hella sure that I don't become you. I have no regrets, yeah, I'll tie up my chest. I'll never forget what it's like to be in debt. Been stabbed in the back bed.